So now that we've had a little bit of practice in creating and dropping tables within our existing database schema, now it logically presents itself that we would want to look at how to alter those tables or those existing objects within the schema. So you can see that from my screen here that I have the create table statement for the test customer table that we used in our last lesson. So in this lesson we're going to recreate this table, and then we're going to go about altering the data structure of how we have things put together for this table definition. So I'll go ahead and I'll execute the table statement, and then I'll simply go ahead and I'll refresh my schema so that I can see that I have my test customer table in here with all the items. So now it logically presents itself that at some time or another you're going to create a table such as this test customer table, and you're going to run into a situation where you've created the table already and then something comes along and you decide that you're going to start capturing a new piece of data. So in our test customer table we're going to decide that we're going to capture the value for the customer phone number now. So now we want to actually go about altering our table to include the column for customer phone number. So in order to do that, I simply need to start off my statement with an alter table statement. And you'll see that once you get used to the MySQL language and SQL in general, you'll see that a lot of the statements have the same type of flow to them. So we know that, in order to create a table, we do a create table statement. In order to drop a table, we do the drop table statement. Now in order to alter the table, we do the alter table statement. And now we go and we tell it, which table we're wanting to alter. So I'm wanting to alter the table test customer table, okay, and the alter table statement is a little bit different from the create table statement up above because I don't need to have any parentheses around my column definitions, and I don't have to worry about these existing columns that are out there. Now you may think that I may have to do an alter table statement and give it something similar to the create table statement where I'm saying this is column 1 and this is column 2 and have to repeat all of this information up top here, which isn't the case. In the alter table statement, all it is simply the alter table statement and then simply a comma delimited list of commands that you want to alter the table structure with. So in the first instance we're going to add a column, so I just simply use add column, okay, which the keyword column is optional in the add statement because within the table it kind of infers that you're adding a column. So the column is optional, but I always use it because it makes your syntax more readable. So I do an add column, and then all I have to do is I have to give the column the name. So customer phone, and then it's just like the table, the column definition stuff that we did up here, in that I have to follow the same format because I'm going to tell it that I'm going to have a customer phone, and I'm going to say it's varchar, let's just say 12, and then I'm going to do something a little different on this one, as I'm not going to go and I'm not adding in the default for the null value. And so I'll go ahead and I'll run this statement, and you'll see query return no results. So I can go ahead and I can refresh this, and I can see that customer phone got added. And let's go ahead and let's check out the create syntax for this table. So let's remove all of this drop stuff and all this stuff that we don't need necessary right now, and let's just concentrate on the column that we added. So you can see that it's added the column, and it's added the column as the last column in the set. Okay, so the customer phone has got added in, is being created as varchar 12, and then the default is null. So even though we didn't specify anything for that default value, whether it's not null or null, if we don't add anything, then the query engine is going to assume that what we want is we want a column that defaults to null, okay, which is pretty regular if you think about it, because if you have an existing table with existing data in it, okay, and you're wanting to create a new column, then it would be logical that if you're not specifying a default value, then the default value has to be null. So the column definition has to accept null values. Because if I have 10,000 entries in my customer table and I go to add my customer phone column to them now, okay, since they don't already have phone numbers in there, there's no possible way that it could be a not null column, because the SQL engine is going to create that column and it's going to pre-populate with null values. Okay, so in this instance, by adding nothing, you just have to remember that the default null will be put in place. So there's the basics of adding a column. Now there is another sort of trickier syntax in which you can add a column and you can say basically that we're going to do customer business phone, okay, varchar 12, and then within the MySQL syntax you can actually say to add it before, or you can say after. So if we want to add things after a column, so we want to have these specifically aligned, maybe it's of some type of importance to us, then we just add in the column that we want it to come after. And now when we run this statement, let me change this, when we run this statement here and we do our refresh, okay, and then we get the create copy, you can see that customer business phone is added after the customer email. Okay, now not all database engines will support the after clause here, so you'll have to check with your specific database documentation to see if it supports it or not. Okay, so now let's take a look at this and let's say, oh, okay, now what we want to do is that we've got our statements here for our phone numbers and we've created them as varchars, and then someone from the development arena comes by and tells us, oh, no, we've made a mistake. We don't want these to be formatted phone numbers. We want these instead to be just plain integers. So they're not going to have the parentheses or the dashes or anything like that. So instead of varchar 12, what we may be looking at instead is that they may just want numerics. So if we look at the numerics of it, we would say, okay, well, phone number generally has 10 digits to it. So now we have to modify both of these columns. So let's set up our alter table statement again. And we'll do alter table test customer table. Okay, and now you might think that you'd want to use an alter, something like an alter column statement, but this isn't necessarily true. What you want to do is you want to do instead a modify column statement, and that's specifically because we're looking at going through and modifying the actual column definition. So we do a modify column statement, and we have to tell it which column we're actually working on, and then we'll say we're changing this to int 10, and then in the same statement, remember that I said before that this is a comma delimited list of values, so you can add in as many modify, add, drop statements as you want within this framework. So we're going to modify the business phone 1, 2 at the same time.